Turning now to the race for the White House. Within the last hour, President Biden has departed for campaign events in Nevada and Arizona. He's expected to highlight his administration's work to lower housing costs while trying to boost support among Latino voters.
It's also a primary day in Kansas, Illinois, Arizona, Florida, and Ohio. The Buckeye State is holding a closely watched Republican Senate primary. We're going to check in with Shawna Mizelle there in just a moment. Begin with senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe. Ed, you were in Las Vegas following the Biden campaign there. So, Ed, what's on Biden's agenda for the week out west, or rather this trip out west?
Anne-Marie, Vlad, good to see you. The president en route to this state, which, of course, is one of those on the list of battlegrounds this year. He's going to start the day up in Reno, Nevada. The northwestern corner of this state is seeing a big population boom, and it's going to get a lot of attention from this campaign, knowing that if they can run up the numbers in that part of the state, they can perhaps pad whatever they can get here in the Las Vegas area where races are always close. As you mentioned, the president is going to focus on a budget proposal he has to provide billions of dollars in assistance to Americans looking to buy a home, to hold on to their home, or to rent an apartment, understanding that housing has become an especially acute issue in this part of the country, but really all over the place. They're coming to do it here in Nevada because their argument is that it's actually a state that has seen some success in solving the housing crunch. From here, he goes on to Arizona, where, as you guys alluded to, he's focused now, especially starting today, on winning over that state's Latino voters, but also Latinos across the country. A big amount of money and attention being devoted to that group of people. And then later in the week, he heads to Texas to raise even more money to pad what is already a record fundraising haul.
So when you talk about, a lot of money, the president's launched a $30 million ad campaign in battleground states. You got to look at one of the groups he's trying to reach. Was it the Latino community?
It was not.
Okay.
It's actually an ad targeting Asian, American, Hispanic, Pacific Islander voters, specifically in this case in Arizona. And you think to yourself, that's not necessarily the group that gets that much attention in a state like that. But in this state, Nevada, and in Arizona, they too are a growing percentage of the voting population. And this is a campaign that understands this is going to be won by single digits, by 4 or 5 figures. In terms of total votes. They've got to find everyone they can. And given that they have so much money, now 150 million plus, and have the primary field cleared, have their ducks in a row, they can begin spending and targeting these people.
I'd be interested to see how this works, because sometimes voters, don't feel so good when the only time they get attention is during, campaign season. But we'll see how it all unfolds for the president. It's a lot of money being spent. Ed, thank you very much. All right, so let's turn to CBS News campaign reporter Shawna Mizelle. Thank you so much. You were in Ohio. She is following the primary there. So, Shawna, Bernie Moreno and State Senator Matt Dolan, they are leading the Republican Senate race as voters head to the polls. Where do things stand?
So we should mention that Secretary of State Frank LaRose is also running and vying for this Republican nomination for Senate candidate. But Bernie Moreno is who I've been covering these past couple of days, and he's really been here in northern Ohio conveying himself to voters as a businessman, a political outsider, someone willing to challenge the establishment, and he really makes the difference in contrast from the other candidates on foreign policy, specifically as it relates to funding for Ukraine, something that Moreno says the U.S. should have limited involvement in.
And what have we heard from the candidates on the issue of reproductive rights in Ohio?
Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown, who will be challenged by whoever this Republican nominee is based on the voters tonight, Sherrod Brown has really been making this race about abortion, saying that all of these candidates would support a national abortion ban. I asked Bernie Moreno about this last night, and here's what he said.
I think what you guys should do is ask Sherrod Brown whether he believes that abortion should be allowed all the way to the moment of birth. He voted against the Infant Born Alive Protection Act, which says in a botched late-term abortion that the baby's supposed to die in a cold metal table with no medical care. I think most Ohioans believe that there should be some consensus around the issue. What I'd like us to focus on, and what we'll work hard in the Senate to do, make it less expensive to have children, less expensive to raise children, make certain that adoption services are readily available, fund pregnancy centers that do great work.
Marino saying that he thinks Ohioans believe there should be some consensus on the issue, but we should absolutely note that just last November, Ohio voters by more than 50% voted to enshrine the right to an abortion in the state's constitution. So whether Ohio voters are in line with his thinking could remain to be seen by who they choose this evening.
Trump rallied for Bernie Moreno over the weekend. How much sway does the former president have in that race? Because, you know, what we've seen kind of over the last few years is the Trump effect often is limited to Donald Trump. So how's the messaging there?
Absolutely. Donald Trump came to Dayton, Ohio, even stumping for Moreno over the weekend. And so it's really going to be a litmus test for how much power the Donald Trump endorsement actually carries. Now, the state of Ohio is a state that former President Donald Trump won not only in 2020, but in 2016 as well. So he does still have a lot of love here from Republicans. But on the other side, you have Governor Mike DeWine that actually endorsed State Senator Matt Dolan. So now the voters will now have to look at those differing endorsements from two Republican leaders.
All right, Shawna, thank you so much.